What's going on, everybody? Video number 3, I believe. We're picking up right where we left off in the last one on the E24 and all the maintenance we're doing. So in this video, we got distributor cap, rotor, spark plugs, intake boot, belts, water pump thermostat, temperature sensors, air filter, trans fluid, diff fluid, and I believe that's about it. I believe that'll kind of conclude what I'm doing on this E24, things that need to be done. Aside from that, it's a very solid car. So let's get right into it. Start here, we're gonna start with belts. So this car is cruel and puts the AC belt as the outermost one. So to get to the two inners, I gotta detension the AC and pull the AC belt off, which is the one I'm not replacing because I couldn't find it. And, you know, to hell with it, it's AC, so it's not a super important belt. But I want to do this now before I put back on all the stuff that I took off to do the valve cover, just because less room with all this kind of bolted up, so I'm using my room to advantage here. But we're going to hammer this out really quick, get these belts dangled on. I don't have the accessories back on yet, so they're just going to be dangling, but now's the best time to do it. Wow, so good thing I actually decided to replace these. I rarely do belts, but you can see these are on their last leg. Like, you look at the gashes in between the teeth. So these would have basically split at any minute. So good thing these are going in the garbage. Got the new belts on. So here's the two rotors side by side. New one on the right, old one on the left. You can see how messed up the contact patch is for the where it actually sparks. That thing was definitely on its last leg. Then there's the middle. You can see the metal in the middle. This one is damn near gone. And yeah, so this new one's a Bremmy. Original one is Bosch. Well, I don't know if it's original, but let's see. Actually, it is marked 88. So I would say not original, but replaced, you know, a long time ago. So got the new one ready to go in, and it actually came with new bolts, which are really nice because, as you guys know, I stripped one. So gonna go pop this in, tighten it up with the new bolts and the new washers, and then we can put the cap on. Check this out. Some fancy packaging here for this new cap. Boom. So I'm not really sure what the oh, that's probably just to keep the bolts from coming out. But otherwise, some just fall out? I guess not. Here is my new cap. You can see the inside there, how beautiful it is, as I showed you guys in the last video, but I'll pull it up right now. There's the original one, or maybe not original, but the one that I'm pulling off. Let me focus. You can see that, corroded, not real nice. This is actually supposed to be this. It's supposed to go in and out. It's completely worn down on that. I mean, this, I've never seen a cap closer to its last leg. That one's also marked 88. So they were done at the same time. This one, 2020, baby. All right, so time to pop this thing in. Really happy about this. I was honestly thinking this car didn't need them, but boy, did this car need these two components. So this thing should be running really nice when I replace these. Time to do spark plugs now. These plugs actually aren't bad at all. They're old, but there's no signs of any sort of issues with the motor. They look perfect. They don't look too rich. They don't look too lean. They're all pretty even. So probably didn't need to do them, but they're old, so why not? Got the new Bosch R6s, same exact ones. As you can see, blue instead of green, or maybe you can't see, but anyway, time to pop these in. They should already be pre-gapped, so I shouldn't have to worry about that. So before I keep going, I better pop my credentials up on my box here so you guys know. Shout out to my girlfriend for this one, YouTube certified mechanic. That is what I am. So we go pop this up on the box here right next to my homie Tange's sticker. I think that'll do right there. Because for those that may be watching and wonder where all my knowledge came from, I am just a YouTube certified mechanic. Never went to school or anything, never worked at a shop. All self-taught from doing it. So boom, there we go. Alright, I just cleaned up this side of the engine bay so that when I put the airbox back on, it's all clean underneath. Time for the new intake boot. OEM, rip the tag off. Steal the hose clamps. Now do I remember which side is top and which side is bottom? I believe it's this, so okay, all my connections are hooked up and I checked my throttle, make sure the hose clamp's not in the way. On this car that can't really happen, but if you watch my E12 Chronicles, I am now always cautious to check that because the E12 almost killed me. If you haven't seen that, go way back and you'll see a video titled My E12. Almost totaled my E12 on the first drive because the throttle cable got stuck on the hose clamp when I put back on the intake because the clamp was in the way. So always cautious of that now. Got all this hooked back up. And now we are ready to pop in the air box. Actually, I'm going to clean this up first and then we're going to pop it in. I got it cleaned up, new air filter in, out with the old junk. Now we're going to pop this bad boy in. So this side is all set to go. Now we're coming over there and water pump and thermostat time. I'm not a huge fan of water pump and thermostats on M30s because they're old and I've had bad luck with the bolts breaking on me and stuff. Those are a lot less clean examples, so I'm not too worried about this one. But regardless, the old gaskets are usually pretty seized on there. They're usually a pain to clean off, but shouldn't be too bad, so let's get that done. Step one, get the coolant out. So I'm going to remove this lower radiator hose from the thermostat housing, and yes, that's not going to pull all the coolant out, but I'm just going to start there, see what comes out. Pulley is off. So now I got to pull off the engine support bracket to get to the water pump. Water pump. So while the water pump was good, you could see the rust and corrosion on the impeller right there. So certainly not hurting to replace this thing. I just cleaned off the old surface. Before I put the new one on, just in case any coolant's up in that thermostat housing, I'm going to pull that off just so I don't leak coolant because I'm going to be using sealant. And I don't want to mess up my seating. Pop this bad boy off. Have a lot of corrosion on them, which scares me because that makes it seem like it's never been replaced, which it quite possibly could have never been replaced, but I just don't know what it's going to look like inside, and that kind of is terrifying. This thing is real crusty, so I got to clean this filler neck. Thermostat looks alright, but you could just see the crust around the O-ring there. I'm surprised this actually sealed, and actually starting to kind of degrade right here. So this was bound to leak pretty soon. I'm surprised it wasn't leaking. It probably would have leaked after a couple more drives. Gasket looks like it'll come off fairly easy, and it stayed on this, which makes my life easier. But so I'm going to clean this up, pop this back on, pop back on the water pump, and we'll be in business. Alright, and here we got the new water pump, the crappy paper gasket that's junk, T-stat gasket, thermostat with the O-ring. So what's funny is these have an O-ring on the thermostat, and then they also have this gasket, so pretty much double protection there. And then the U-shaped coolant hose. Cleaned up the thermostat housing cover. So now we're gonna pop in this T-stat real quick. I got some sealer for the paper gasket, and then tighten that back up, and then we're gonna put on the water pump. So there's no arrow on the thermostat, so I'm just gonna face it with the writing right side up. That seems right to me. The longest part of this job is cleaning off the surface of the water pump where it goes. So you can see there it's all clean. We're ready to put the new pump in. So the new hose is on, the pulley's back on. We're all wrapped up here. Now I got temp sensors, so I got one of these and I got one of these. So I believe this one is this, I'm gonna replace that. And then this yellow one back here is this one, I'm gonna replace that. This and this, not really sure where they are. I don't see them anywhere for sale. Wow, so this temp sensor, I'll pull it in closer. This is completely corroded, so that was probably junk. So that one is in. 19 is too thick. I was able to get in there with a wrench, so I got that out. The new one then has a wider head, so I was able to do that with the socket. Here's the old one, and then here's the old other one. Let me see if you can see the corrosion. So that's all corrosion, so there's how it's supposed to look, and it's got all that on it. So this sensor was pretty much junk. Not sure that it needed either of these. I didn't, you know, recollect any erratic readings or anything, but why not? They're not too expensive. So that wraps up all the cooling system stuff. We got this all done. As I said, radiator is gonna stay. But we're getting close here. So now I'm gonna let this cure overnight. Then coolant in it tomorrow, oil in it tomorrow. Time to put the alternator and the power steering pump back on. Before I do that, you can see these alternator bushings are absolutely roached. So good thing from the previous owner. Got some polyurethane ones to throw in here. Now it's just a matter of figuring out how to get these old ones out. I see a circlip on one, not the other. So I don't know if these pop out or what. So I'm gonna sit here and do some hands-on research and see if I can get these things out and replace them. All done. You can see here, got the new polys in, C-clamp, hammer, some sockets, did the trick, and C-clip pliers to get the old ones out. They were absolutely roached. This is the better side, the side closer to the motor. Got so heat cycled, it melted. I don't think, yeah, here. That's the side that was closer to the engine. So that's why my alternator was offset, because that bushing was completely melted. So alternator is ready to go back in. I gotta go clean up the bracket, pop the bracket on, and then we're putting the alternator and the power steering pump back on. New fan clutch going on. I don't think this one's bad, but I bought it anyway, so we're gonna pop it on. And in she goes. Time for us to bleed the cooling system. So, bleeder on the thermostat housing. Please don't strip. I might have to hit this with some screw loose. There we go. I don't have enough BMW, and I'm just gonna use my green stuff, and then this way I can go to the store and run and get more of this. before I forget and bleed the cooling system with no oil, we're gonna put some oil in this thing. So, Valvoline VR1 2050. 2050 is basically the general recommended weight for an M30, depending on your climate. But this stuff is good to, the manual says, about 15 degrees and up, or even lower actually. This thing says all year above -4 degrees Celsius is 1550. All year above 14 degrees is 20W50. Below 14 you want 5W30. We're not driving this thing below 14 degrees. And VR1, as it says right here, high zinc. These M30s love zinc. I can't remember what it is, but these older motors really like zinc. So that's what we're giving her, and she should enjoy. That's all the oil we need to start it up and bleed the cooling system, and then once it's on the ground and level, I'll obviously do my final check and make sure that's good before we drive it. But I just figured I should definitely do that now, because I could see myself forgetting that I forgot to put oil in it and being too excited to bleed the cooling system. I was gonna do all the trends and the diff stuff, and then I was like, nah, let me get this cooling system bled and oil done, because then I could start it up, make sure all the work I've done is good. That's usually the most nerve-wracking process after you've taken apart literally half of everything in here, making sure everything's done properly. And of course, new seals are always risky, you know, make sure you got no leaks. So fingers crossed. But anyway, off to coolant I go. We'll be back and we'll get this thing bled. So now I can spill this all over. Oop. And I still got the front in the air with the back down, just from my previous work. That's the best way to bleed M30s, if I recall correctly. They, you know, because the bleeder's right at the top of the thermostat housing. Dialed right to like, oh, we got a leak. No, we don't. I'm stupid. Coolant's coming out of the thing I opened. Alright, so that's flowing out. So I'm gonna close that. Man, I thought I was leaking. I got scared. I'm shooting all over the place. Thing sounds great. Coolant looks pretty good. Alright, we got her up to temp, fully bled, went well, topped off the coolant, checked for leaks. No oil leaks from the pan, no oil leaks from the oil filter, no coolant leaks. She runs fantastic. So I'd say that is a maintenance on the M30 job well done. We're pretty much wrapped up here in the engine bay. Nothing else I really need to button up in here. So I'm just gonna clean up, and then I think I will call this video here, because I'm sure it's getting a little long. We're gonna pick this back up next time I get back out here. Trans fluid, diff fluid, fuel filter, and then we're gonna take this thing on a spin and see how she drives. Runs fantastic. It already did drive good, but with all new fluids, she should be really nice. So I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, maybe sub, leave a like, whatever. I appreciate all the support. Again, sorry the series took so long. Parts were delayed, I was busy. But we are here, and we are just about done in here. So I'll see you guys in the next one.
It's too early for this, it makes it even better.